Uh, we were discussing money last week. I hope you remember, and you had some uh, looking to the slides that we discussed already. So today we are continuing with the same discussion, and as I said, we will be continuing this discussion to the next week as well. This is an important session, as I have already mentioned to you, because in your paper you have to spend quite a substantial amount of work in terms of discussion on money. Last week, I hope you remember, we basically defined money, and also we tried to identify the functions of money, and also these functions we discussed in a detailed manner. And we also looked at some of the concepts related to money. For example, in some
Good
countries,
afternoon, sir.
hello, can you hear? Okay. So we already discussed some of the concepts related to money, because in some countries, I told you, they don't have a specific legal tender commonly in use. Legal tender means the government money, but instead they are using some other currencies of other countries, like dollars or maybe some other similar currencies. And we started discussing the evolution of money, because money in today's form, money can be found in various forms, like we don't see actually physical money today. The most recent case is we see some virtual money. Virtual means we don't see such money, but they are in use. But if you look at the history, it started with very primitive conditions. We already discussed the system called barter system. So in a moneyless society, the barter system was the only solution. Barter system means people exchange goods for goods, mainly the surplus what they have produced. So that surplus has been exchanged for the purpose of uh, money, or for the purpose of exchanging goods. And we also looked at some of the issues related to this barter system, because it's not a very effective, very efficient way. In that time, maybe it was the best system, but if you look at from today's perspective, the barter system was having some issues. So as a result, we noticed a commodity was introduced in between. So the transaction was facilitated by a commodity. That commodity originally came from a good that they can find in their environment. For example, the cattle, shells, salt, or similar things what they could find from their environment and their neighborhood. But later on, this commodity money was replaced by precious metal, mainly silver and uh, gold. We call them bullion, silver bullion or gold bullions, which means they use the chunk of these metal for their money purposes. Because we know, or we may have, you may have heard, in the history, people have found these copper and silver mines in Europe, and also in American continent during uh, 12th, 13th centuries. So, in after 15th century in America. So these copper and silver were used to make money. So we call them as metal-based money, and we have seen some problems with such metal-based money, because there are some issues, like in terms of the value is deteriorating, it's bulky, sometimes you can't divide into pieces, so such issues were there. So that's the point we stopped, I guess. Now, with the problems. Now we are basically into today's discussion from this slide. These problems of commodity money led to the introduction of paper money. Paper money. Paper money, sometimes we call them as fiat money. Fiat money. So fiat means the idea is simply the government, we use the word government. I don't know whether I can write here, whether this is editable, I'm not so sure. Let me check. No, I don't think it's editable, but let me continue. Fiat means, as I said, it's government order. We use the word government decree. So the government can decide, or government can mention that such a paper it becomes currency. How it becomes currency? Through few things. One, the government, by its power, it can declare based on certain laws. So governments are making laws, regulations, legal legislations. So based on that, they can decide whether such paper becomes money. And also government is doing that using the power of sovereignty or sovereign. So for that matter, the government is empowering certain officials to sign on that paper. For example, if you look at a note, currency note, on that currency note, you will see the government officials have signed. For example, the finance minister and the central bank governor. They sign it and it becomes a valuable document for the purpose of transactions. So the fiat money is made of government order. That's why you call it fiat. Now, in other words, fiat money is paper money, or sometimes you call it bank notes. So everything is the same. What are the features of this fiat money? Now we have seen commodity money can be derived from a commodity, and the value of that commodity equals to value of money. For example, if you take a gold coin, the value of gold equals to the value of coin. So you call it, the coin has an intrinsic value. Intrinsic value. Here we have put that word in intrinsic value. So intrinsic means the value equals to the material that it is made. But fiat money, there's no such intrinsic value, which means the paper used for the made of for manufacturing of money does not equal to the value of the note. Take an example, let's say 1,000 rupee note. That 1,000 rupee note, it's made of paper, but the value of that paper is less than the value of the currency, right? Maybe to manufacture that currency note, it's only cost around 2 rupees, for example. So that is the manufacturing cost, and the value of the note is higher than the material that used for this currency manufacturing. So you call it, there's no intrinsic value. No intrinsic value. Now, because of this thing, because there's no intrinsic value of paper money or fiat money, it's profitable for the governments. Why? Governments can print enough money to make profits, because the cost of production of currency notes is low. Imagine in the case of gold, if you want to manufacture more gold coins, you have to have gold. So it's not profitable. But paper money, the government can make money out of it, or can make profit out of them. In economics, it's you call it seniorage value uh, generated by the government. So that's one feature. Second one, now uh, gold or silver coins, you have the guarantee that you can convert into a uh, value, or which means that uh, note you can convert back into the original commodity. Through gold coin, you can make gold. But for fiat money, you don't have such guarantee that you can convert into a valuable commodity. For example, you don't have any assurance that your 1,000 rupee note can be converted into gold. So there's no such guarantee. So you call it that convertibility is not there. So non-convertible fiat currency is non-convertible. I already mentioned this value is assigned by the government order, which you call as fiat, and fiat currency is usually paper money. It's made of paper, that we already discussed. Let's move to the next slide. Now, if you look at the history, paper money was made many centuries back. The first evidence of paper money is coming from China. Now, Chinese people, they are very good in inventing many things. Okay, maybe you have heard Chinese people, they have invented a couple of important things, right? For example, the compass. To find out the directions, the compass is very useful. So they have invented compass. What else? They have invented gunpowder, right? Gunpowder is, now it's used for, these war and all these things, but it's a source of energy. So gunpowder was basically discovered by Chinese people. Similarly, paper discovered by Chinese people. Of course, they have discovered corona also, right? But if you look at the past, they have discovered some many important inventions to the world. So paper is one thing. So paper is a Chinese invention. Similarly, paper money originally manufactured in China. It's in pre-modern China around 7th century. I can't remember the dynasty. So during that dynasty time, they have used this currency as a promissory note, which means the merchants in the Chinese society, they exchange heavy coins for the receipts, for the deposits that they have made with the wholesale shoppers. So currency, as we said, in terms of commodity money, it's heavy. So you can't transport very easily. So instead, you deposit that commodity money or coins with someone, or with a merchant, or with a wholesaler, and you take a note for that, a receipt for that. That receipt is a promissory note. Promissory note means you can bring it back and ask for your commodity money, for your coins. So it's a promise to pay. So Chinese people, they invented this paper money. And if you look at the history, you will see during this paper money period, even China had experienced inflation. Inflation means the increase in prices. They have experienced that also. So that indicates when there is paper money, inflation is also a problem, right? We will come back to that later when we discuss monetary policy. So that was the start of paper money. Then after some period, it has vanished. So we don't see any evidence of paper money until the Middle Ages in Europe. So in Europe, during the Middle Ages, which means around 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th century, to simplify the trade activity, they have introduced these bills of exchange. So bills of exchange is also a promise to pay. When you hold it for the purpose of transactions. It is backed by the coins that you have deposited with some person. And also in ancient Europe, we have seen in the the Knights Templar. Knights Templar means the knights, basically advisors. They have functioned as bankers. Bankers means they have accepted this commodity money and issued this paper money. So that was the simple evolution of paper money from China to Europe. So Europe was the inventors of modern paper money. So that's the important thing. Chinese paper money went vanished, but the modern paper money was originated in Europe, especially during the Middle Ages. And when you talk about paper money in Europe, we have some important uh, concept to discuss, or important category of people to discuss in Europe, especially in the 17th century. 17th century means 19600s. So who are these people? You call them as goldsmiths. So goldsmiths, they were based in London. This goldsmiths company, even today, it's there. One of the oldest companies in the world. So who are these goldsmiths? So in London, the goldsmith business was basically to keep gold and valuable reserves with them. Gold, silver, such special metal species they kept with them, and for that amount they have issued a promissory note. That promissory note is basically a kind of a bank note that we have today. So that note can be exchanged with goods and services. That note can be given to someone as money. So that note is basically a medium of exchange. And also it's a promissory note. Why it is a promissory note? It's payable on demand. When you bring it and give it to the goldsmith, when you ask for your gold coins, they paid those gold on the submission of the promissory note. So that is basically the origin of modern modern money, modern uh, bank money. Why do we call it bank money? Because these goldsmiths notes and their activity led to create loans. Why? The gold reserves or the silver reserves kept with the goldsmiths, they started lending those gold reserves or silver reserves to other people. For example, if you need money, you can go to goldsmith and ask for a loan from them. So Goldsmith people, they created credit, and from our knowledge, we know when you give credit, that credit leads to create new money. We will see in the next session. Okay? So credit is a source of new money. As long as you give new credit to a person, that credit will lead to new money. And this credit creation, the promissory notes, they were basically some evidence of origination of modern money. So these bank notes that created by goldsmiths as promissory notes and their lending activity are considered as the source of modern money and modern banking practices. So in that sense, we consider goldsmiths are very important in the history of money because they created uh, the modern money. However, uh, some new issue was uh, emerged during this time. Why? Now, when Goldsmith started this business, accepting coins, issuing promissory notes, not only Goldsmiths, some other private banking companies and similar institutions, they also started the same practice. So now what has happened? Different types of notes, new notes came into circulation. So a number of financial institutions, they issue multiple types of notes. So in the circulation, there were number of notes. So that led to an issue. You need to have some clearing house for this matter. Right? For example, if one person bringing one note, another person bringing another note, there should be a mechanism to clear these notes. So it was a kind of a difficult or cumbersome activity. So what has happened? Now it's clear the issuance of banknotes at that time, it was with private entities like Goldsmith. Not only Goldsmiths, there were many private banking institutions. So as I said, that created a problem. So governments realized that they should have some mechanism to resolve this thing. So as a result, the governments thought of creating a central institution, a central place for the issuance of notes. So what has happened? So governments requested some of these private banks, or government formed some of these private banks as national institutions to create or issue money. For example, if you take the first central bank in the world, it was established in 1668, the Sweden Central Bank, Swedish Riksbank. So Swedish Riksbank, their task was to issue banknotes on behalf of the government. So originally it was a private bank. So the private bank was given the power to do so. And the second example, in 1694, the Bank of England was established. Bank of England was also originally, even though it's a central bank, it was originally a private bank. It was formed by a group of private entrepreneurs. So they were given the authority to issue notes. So the government's power to issue notes were given to these private entities as central banks. Now, there's one more thing I have to mention. The governments created these central banks not only to issue currency, not only to facilitate the payment system in the economy. There was another motive of the government. Why? A lot of governments during this time, they were struggling with shortages of money. What is the shortage of money? Commodity money, the silver, gold coin, they are not enough to finance the government. Why government money was not sufficient? Because during this period, if you look back the history, you will see there was a huge wave of wars during this time, right? In 16th century, there are a number of wars. For example, there was a famous war between British people and French people. At one point, the French people, the French army crushed the British army, the British Navy. So British people realized they need money to fight back, to have a strong army, strong navy. So they needed money. That needed money was created or provided by these central banks. So central banks' task was two things at the beginning: to facilitate the government, also to facilitate the payment system. Okay, and over the period, these central banks evolved as monopolies of issuing notes. Monopoly means they are the only player. As I said, they nationalized their function. They took back their function from these private entity, or the private entities were nationalized as the government or public institutions. So the monopoly was taken by the central banks of issuing currency, mainly fiat currency. Starting from Swedish central bank, they are the first modern central bank to issue notes, and then Bank of England, Bank France, likewise many banks, they started issuing fiat currency, which means paper currency. And also they started acting as a lender of last resort, which means they are the people to support the financial system when there is an issue in the financial system. So if the financial system is in panic, these institutions, the central banks, came and helped the financial system. Okay, that's how this money, paper money, the central bank role was basically emerged during these centuries, 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, right? So I hope it's clear how the paper money came into the usage, right? So when we talk about the history of money, we cannot forget the gold standard also, right? So goldsmith is something else, right? So they are basically the people who acted as bankers, goldsmiths. In singular, you call them as maybe rankaru, right? So they are basically jewelry makers because they were dealing in gold. So that's a different business. Gold standard is something else. Gold standard is something else. So gold standard, it became popular in UK, especially in 1800s, which means in the 19th century, the gold standard became popular in UK mainly. So what do you mean by gold standard? So it's a monetary system that the value of your currency is fixed to a certain amount of gold, right? Value of your currency is fixed to a certain amount of gold, which means it's in UK, the value of sterling pound is fixed to a fixed amount of gold. So which means it's a kind of a fixed exchange rate. Fixed exchange rate. Following the UK, many other world major currencies were also fixed to the gold. The dollar was fixed to gold. The German mark was fixed to gold. Likewise, the gold was the main determinant of the currencies of different countries. So every country, they have defined this is the value of our currency in terms of gold. So you called it gold standard. So this was very popular framework during the 19th century. But by about 1931, UK, they abolished the gold standard. They are the first people to start gold standard and they abolished the gold standard. And by 1971, the entire world abolished the gold standard, which means no country today fix their currency against gold. Now, when we were gaining independence around 1948, Sri Lanka, we were also under gold standard. Why? We fixed our currency to gold, but it was not a direct measure. I think we have done it through Indian currency, Indian rupee, but that is also a form of gold standard that we followed during this period, right? So it's a important era of the evolution of money in history, the gold standard. Okay? Now, when I say gold standard, it's clear it is also a kind of a monetary system. A fiat currency is also a kind of a monetary system. Now, we should be able to compare these two, gold standard and the fiat currency. Now, I already mentioned to you, let me drink some water. I already mentioned to you, fiat currency is made of paper. Right? Now, it can be manufactured by the government, fiat currency. So as a result, depending on the need of the economy, the government can expand the money supply if you are in a fiat system, because the government can print money. So when you print money as per your requirement, there is some flexibility, right? So flexibility is there in a fiat system. What is the flexibility? You can expand the money supply as and whenever you need. Now, one thing we agree, in order to support the economic output, in order to support the economic growth, you have to have enough money. Remember, in our very first discussion, we realized or we established the economy is running based on or backed by finance, which means money. So money is needed for the economy. So economic activity is supported by money. So whenever you have fiat money system, you can expand money supply and give some support to the economic expansion. There are some other problems. We will discuss those later, but the money supply can be expanded in a fiat system. How about the gold standard? Now, in a gold standard, you can't do it freely. Why? your currency is fixed to a certain amount of gold. Certain amount of gold is determining value of your currency. So as a result, in order to expand your money supply, your gold supply should also expand. So in that sense, you cannot freely expand your money supply. In a way, it's good. Why it is good? Governments or politicians, they cannot expand money as they want, right? It's a good thing. But at the same time, it has a major drawback. What is the drawback? Imagine that the economy is in a depression condition, which means the economy is basically uh, contracting, or economy is basically going into a problem. Now, like current condition, as I said last week, currently the global economy is running into a recession. This year we will record a negative economic growth. So it's a kind of a recession depression. So in such situation, gold standard is not allowing to expand the money supply, because you have to have gold backed by to back the currency. So in a depression with the gold standard, the governments will not have the ability to expand money to support the economic recovery. You can take the current situation as the best example. Why? In the current situation, as I said, when the economy is going to a recession, now the governments are expanding their money supply in a large scale. If you look at the US Central Bank, UK Central Bank, European Central Bank, Japanese Central Bank, even the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, they are expanding their money supply at a large amount to support the economic recovery, because now we are in a recession situation as a whole. So it's possible to expand or to give a boost to the economy when there is a fiat situation. In a gold standard, you are not in a position to do that. I think you have to have some understanding about the two systems and their advantages. Okay, now in 21st century, now we are today. Okay, what we see today, we have seen in the past the barter system. We have seen basically a system called a commodity system, and also we see today a fiat currency. Okay, if you look at this timeline here, starting from 9000 BC, we started with some commodity money based on what you can find in the environment. Then you have base metal coins, then you have precious metal coins, paper currency, and today we are in a basically an electronic digital age. Actually, electronic age started somewhere around 1920s, because one of the US banks around 1920s, they started issuing credit cards. And credit card, these plastic cards became very popular in 1960s, 70s, right? Even 80s. Later on in 1990s, what has happened? Above these credit cards, debit cards, now we have seen some other forms of money like digital wallets or smart purses as money. For example, a digital wallet means you can store value into an electronic device. How it has happened? It has happened through the developments in technology, communications, and the widespread of electronic payment systems. Now, today we are talking about digital money because of these developments, the developments in ICT. As I said, today not only we have cards as money or as the devices for money, today we have money in air, in the space, in the cloud, right? You call them as intangible money. Up to last decade, money was basically tangible, right? You can simply touch the coins and notes, the paper money, even the cards you can touch as money. Digital wallet, you can simply, it's a kind of a device. But today, money is becoming virtual. Virtual means they are only computer codes, computer entries, computer algorithms, not in physical form. So we have come to a situation like that. You call it the digital money era. Digital money era. So as a result, if you look at the evolution of history of money, we can divide money into various categories. So from this slide onwards, we are starting to categorize different forms of money. I recommend you take a piece of paper because I'm going to take some of the past paper questions in this part as some forms of money. So take your handbook or the notebook because we will be taking some additional notes from this point onwards. Okay. Ready? Are you having a paper with you, a pen and all that? Any response?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, great. So the first categorization classification for money is we can divide money into physical money and implicit money. Physical money we already know, coins and notes. Money exchange for transactions, any coin, any note, they are basically physical money. Now, even today, we talk about a cashless or less cash society, which means the usage of physical money has come down, but still we use physical money, isn't it? Even though we talk about all these cards and virtual money and all that, but if I look into your wallet, still you have a note, still you have a coin, because physical money is helpful for transaction. So those are basically notes and coins. Implicit money, they are basically the payments or deposited money in financial institutions. So in the past, we call them as bank money or bank deposits, right? Now today, not only bank deposits, even the instruments that we use for financial transactions like credit cards, debit cards, digital wallets, digital money, everything can be included under implicit money because they are not very close to 100% money, but they are serving as payment mechanisms. They are instruments for transactions. So you can consider them as implicit money. So that is our first classification of money. And then we see this term, the money substitutes, or you call them as near money. There's an old word called quasi money, right? If you look at monetary statistics in books, you will see this term, the quasi money or near money or money substitutes. Don't mix up this idea money substitute with currency substitute, right? We talk about currency substitution, that is basically dollarization. This is not dollarization. This is basically some substitutes that you use for coins and notes. So in that sense, you can define money other than coins and notes as near money. So near money is considered as highly liquid assets. Why highly liquid? They can be easily converted into cash. They are not 100% cash, but can be converted into cash very easily. Here I have given you some examples. If you have a savings account, you can withdraw money. You can convert into cash very quickly. Money market funds. These are not available in our country, but in many countries you have money market funds. You can convert into cash very quickly. Bank time deposits, which means your fixed deposit. Those are convertible into cash. Even though they are not liquid as savings accounts, still you convert into cash. Government treasury securities, mainly treasury bills. If it is less than 1 year, we consider them as highly liquid instruments. And also in some countries, we don't take in Sri Lanka these bonds. In some countries, bonds near the redemption date. Redemption means the maturity date. So if the bond is very close to the maturity, let's say the bond is maturing in 1 year. So which means it's a short-term instrument. So those short-term instruments are considered as liquid form of money. So all these liquid form of money, you call them as near money or quasi money or money substitutes that you can use for transactions. Okay, so that is also a type of a classification. Then we come to electronic money and digital money, right? Electronic money and digital money, they are different, but the source of the two types of money is the same. Why I am saying the source is same? As I said, digital money or the electronic money came into operation because of the developments in technology, mainly computers, communications, and similar technologies. So electronic money are basically digital equivalent of cash stored on an electronic device. So you can use them as money because you are able to transfer, you can make transactions through electronic impulses. For example, you can take electronic purse, e-purse. You can store money into a card, and that card can be used as a method of transaction. But here you have to be a bit careful. Sometimes we think these debit cards, ATM cards as money, right? So those ATM cards or debit cards, they are not exactly money. Why? They are devices to use for money transactions. For example, you take the ATM card to withdraw money. You take the debit card to pay through linking to your account, right? So in that sense, they are not exactly money. What we are talking about electronic money is basically things like e-purses, or sometimes the credit card can be considered as a form of electronic money, because using the credit card you can make a purchase. Using the credit card you can pay a debt, right? So it's a form of transactions electronically. So there are some debates whether the credit card is a money or not, but most of the people, they think credit card can be used or considered as money. So that is electronic money. How can you define it? Digital equivalents of cash stored on an electronic device. So that is the definition. Okay. Digital money is a bit different or a bit advanced than that. Why? It's a form of electronic money that can be used for transactions through internet or similar electronic media. Electronic money, it may not be through the internet. For example, when you use an e-purse, it's simply you use the e-purse and your storage of money is deducted from the card itself, right? But digital money, when you use it, you are using it through the internet. Your value of money is basically stored on the internet. So as a result, you can use it for borderless transactions. You can use it for transactions with, even with unknown people, right? So the best example for digital money is basically the virtual money, or you call it as cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency. So this cryptocurrency is a new concept. Why do you call it cryptocurrency? It's written by a crypto language, which means it's a kind of a hidden language. Crypto means, the singular word crypto means it's Gupta Bhasha, right? So you write the codes, the algorithm in a crypto language, because you cannot copy it, right? Otherwise, people will copy and make money out of that. So the cryptocurrency allows to use some hidden language. And when you create cryptocurrency, you call it initial coin offering, ICO, initial coin offerings. So these cryptocurrencies are basically created by the developers, computer developers, using the computer technology on internet or on machines as virtual form. Virtual means you can't touch. It's digital form. So what is the most famous cryptocurrency that we have heard? Bitcoins. In 2008 or 9, it was introduced, Bitcoins. Even today, you see large number of virtual currencies. I think more than 6,000 virtual currencies are there around the world. Probably you may have seen your very famous and lovely Facebook. They also introduce a cryptocurrency. Remember the currency called Libra. So Libra is Facebook cryptocurrency, which means it's a used by a certain group of people for their transactions within a community. So you call it digital money or cryptocurrency. And there I take a exam question, right? So in 2018 September paper, there is a question on this uh, digital currency. Okay, so the question is basically briefly explain decentralized cryptocurrency and digital fiat currency. Okay, I hope you got the question. Explain decentralized cryptocurrency. The word cryptocurrency is here, right? If you want to know the spellings, decentralized cryptocurrency and digital fiat currency. Okay, what do you mean by decentralized cryptocurrency? Actually, the cryptocurrency was originally introduced as decentralized cryptocurrency. Why? They are not controlled by any authority or a central bank. They are not controlled or having any authority by a central bank. So you can define a decentralized cryptocurrency as a digital asset to work as a medium of exchange, a digital asset to work as a medium of exchange using cryptography by the developers, right? Developers. Why do you call it decentralized? Because they are not having a central control. They are not having a central control by a central bank. They are not controlled by a central bank. So which means it has a decentralized control. And how these are created, we are not interested into that area, but you may have heard the terms like blockchains, right? Blockchains, and maybe you have heard the term distributed ledger technology. Distributed ledger technology. All these are public financial databases or systems. Public financial databases or systems that is used to create decentralized cryptocurrency. Okay, I hope you have the basic idea. So when you hear the word decentralized cryptocurrency, those are virtual money issued by private players. For example, Bitcoin. For example, Libra. There are many more currencies, thousand odd currencies. All these are decentralized because they are issued by private players. Okay. And What is the second part of the question? Digital fiat currency. Digital fiat currency. So when you have the word fiat, digital fiat, what does that indicate? Fiat means it has the government control. So digital fiat currency means centralized cryptocurrency. Centralized cryptocurrency. In other words, digital currency issued by a central bank or the government. Digital currency issued by the central bank or the government. Okay. And there is a word used for this digital fiat currency or the central bank issued currency. We call them as CBDC, central bank digital currency. Maybe you can write down that word CBDC, central bank digital currency. So CBDC means basically central bank is issuing legally the digital currency. Okay. Now, so far, no government or no central bank has issued any digital currency up to now. Okay. But many central banks are exploring the possibility of issuing digital fiat currency. For example, Bank of England, Bank of Japan, they are trying to introduce a digital fiat currency. In that process, the Swedish central bank, they have gone too far, which means in 2020, this year, they are planning to issue a digital fiat currency, CBDC. What is the currency of Sweden? Swedish currency is called as krona. So this year, Central Bank of Sweden is going to issue a e-krona. E-krona means electronic krona. So that is basically a digital currency that is going to be issued by the central bank. Okay. Now, in this paper, there's another part of the question also. Probably you can write down that also. The question. It says, explain how the generally accepted objectives objectives of a central bank will be challenged in an economy where decentralized cryptocurrencies where decentralized cryptocurrencies play a significant role. I repeat, explain how the generally accepted objectives of a central bank will be challenged in an economy where decentralized cryptocurrencies play a significant role. Okay. So what do you think? So this decentralized cryptocurrency means private digital money. What do you think? Now, probably at this stage, you don't have a clear idea about the central bank's role and how it plays an important role in the economy. But if I say very briefly, a central bank role is basically to maintain the stability of the economy. Stability of the economy. Stability means basically it tries to keep price levels at stable levels. So you call it price stability. And also other aspect of stability is financial stability. So modern central banks, they try to keep a balance between uh, price stability and financial stability. For that matter, they need to control money in the economy, because you can't have more money in the economy than you need. For example, let's say the economy needs a certain amount of money, but you cannot have a large amounts of money in the economy. Why? When you have more money in the economy, you will learn that later, that creates imbalances in the economy. Imbalances in the financial system, imbalances in the prices. So as a result, the central banks need to control the amount of money in the economy. Okay, so it cannot be done when there are private issuers of money. For example, if there are people who's issuing money privately, it's beyond the control of the central bank. So these decentralized cryptocurrency, they are something like private money issued by private players, and as a result, the central bank cannot control the amount of money in the economy because they are issued by people who cannot be controlled by the central bank. So that disturbs the central bank's write down these words: monetary policy. This private money disturbs the central bank's monetary policy and money creation process. The central bank money creation process and the monetary policy is basically control in any economy, but when you have private currency, you can't do it, right? Clear? Okay. So I recommend, if you have the paper, please go through that paper 2018 September. There you will see a question related to this uh, cryptocurrency, right? Okay. Any questions that you want to raise? Any feedback that you want to give? No? Can we move on? Right. Related to digital money, there's another concept in modern context: digital wallets. Right? Digital wallets. They are some electronic devices or online devices that you can allow or you can use it for electronic transactions. Electronic transactions. For example, probably you may have heard the word QR code, right? QR code is basically, probably you may have seen on products, books, there is a kind of a logo created through the computer with some, dots, right? QR code. That QR code is a kind of a coding of a information, right? So when you scan that QR code, you can simply read out the value behind that QR code, and using your device, you can make the payment also through your mobile phone, for example, through your tab or any other electronic device. So that is one way. And also probably you may have heard the digital wallets like Apple Pay, Alipay, not Alipay, right? Alipay, and Samsung Pay. All these are digital wallets that help you to make online transactions. So these online transactions are basically helping you to make a convenient transaction through the electronic devices or internet. Okay, so keep that in mind also. There is a question related to that also. Let me take that question. I think in 2019 September paper, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I'm reading the question. Maybe you can take a note. This is September 2019, September 2019 paper. So this is the question. Question number 8. Question number 8. Sub question is 4, right? 8.4. List 5 examples for digital wallet used for payments and accepted by merchants globally, and briefly explain 2 of those products. List 5 examples of digital wallets, and you have to explain 2 of these products. Okay. So what are the digital wallets? I already mentioned some of the examples here. What are those methods? First one, you can take this QR code payments. So I'm just giving you a very brief definition of all these methods. Maybe you can take it down, take a note on that. So QR code payment is a contactless payment method. Contactless payment method. And the payment is performed scanning the QR code from a mobile app. Scanning the QR code from a mobile app. And this is a alternative method. Alternative method for point of sale payments. What do you mean by point of sale payments? In a point of sale payment, which means a POS machine, you go to the machine and your card is scanned, right? When your card is scanned, you are performing the transaction. But here, you don't go to a terminal like that. You are simply scanning the QR code and use your mobile to make the payment. Right? That's one thing. And also, you can use phone pay. Phone pay is also a digital wallet. What do you mean by phone pay? It's an electronic payment mechanism and a digital payment method built based on a method called UPI. UPI, which means Unified Payment Interface. Unified Payment Interface. So using this phone pay or the UPI, you can send or receive funds, money, make utility payments, online shopping, etc. Okay. What else? Google Pay, right? You may have heard. It's a payment platform developed by Google. And there you basically tap to pay. You tap to pay purchases using the mobile. So similarly, there are number of other digital wallets also. For example, Alipay, as I said, Samsung Pay, Apple Pay. All these are basically some payment platforms provided by these companies. For example, Apple Pay is by Apple company. Alipay is by Alibaba company. Samsung is by Samsung Electronics. Likewise. Okay, I think you have some clear idea about these, different types of money, the evolution and the current form of money. And if you look at the recent papers, you will see the most focus, mostly the focus is on, these new developments of money, like electronic money, digital money, central bank digital money. So you need to pay some extra attention to these different types of new money. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Characteristics of money. So these characteristics of money, you can also call them as features of a good monetary system. In other words, a good monetary unit will have these features. Let's say the rupee, it's our monetary system, it's our monetary value, right? Let's say the dollar, it's basically the US monetary system, US monetary value. So what are the features of this money? First thing, it should be generally acceptable. Generally acceptable means everyone in the society should accept as a medium of exchange. For example, if you want to buy a pen in a shop, the shopkeeper should accept your rupee. If you want to have a haircut, the salon person should accept your money. So in the given society, money should be acceptable by everyone. Why I am saying that? Because remember, in some societies, they don't accept their own money. For example, countries like, let's say, Zimbabwe, they don't like to accept their dollar because it is a currency without any trust. So you have to have the general acceptability of money. Everyone should accept in the society. Okay? Stability of value. Stability of value means the value of the currency or the purchasing power should be stable. For example, 100 rupees today, let's say you are able to buy a lunch packet today using 100 rupees. Tomorrow, when you go to the same shop for the same lunch packet, they will say, okay, lunch packet is 1000 rupees, which means the value of your money is not stable. It is highly inflationary. So the ability to purchase using such money should be stable. Over the time, the value would change, but at least for a certain period of time, it should be stable. Scarcity. Scarcity means you should have enough money, but it should not be available in excess. So in my class, I use the word ගස්සයට කොස්සට වගේ සල්ලි තියෙන්න බෑ, right? That you find everywhere. So money should be scarce, which means it should be hardly earned. It should be enough money, but not in excess. Okay? Portability. You should be able to transport money very easily. If they are heavy like, rocks, if they are heavy like, any other material, it's not good. Money should be easily transportable. Durability. Money should be able to keep long. There are some currencies you can't use, 1 or 2 times maximum, right? A good monetary unit should be durable, should be able to use for some time, because when it goes to circulation, it goes hand in hand, right? So it should be there for some time. durability. Divisibility means you need to be able to divide money into pieces, which means there should be small denominations. So in Sri Lanka, the rupee is the the main monetary unit. If you look at the law, it will say, okay, rupee is your legal tender, but there are cents also. 100 cents equal 1 rupee. So that is also written in law. So which means money should be able to divide into small denominations. I think every strong currency in the world, they have small denominations. Even the dollar, they have small denominations. Even the sterling, they have small denominations. Recognizability, you should be able to easily identify money, right? And also homogeneity means you should have the same quality of money. If you take 10 rupee coins, those 10 rupee coins shouldn't be in 10 shapes, 10 sizes, right? 10 weights should be homogeneous. So that feature is also there. So all these are, remember, this is an exam question. Sometimes back, this was there in your paper. What are the qualities of a good monetary system? What are the qualities of good money? Okay, keep this in mind. Price of money. What do you mean by price of money? Now, everything has a price, right? Every commodity has a price. Money is also having a price. You cannot have money very easily. You cannot have money for free. So price or the cost of money is the rate of interest paid on money. Oh, interest rate is the price of money. What do you mean by interest? It is the opportunity cost or the price you pay for not using for something else. What do you mean by that? So, using money, you can make purchases. Using money, you can make transactions. So without consuming or making transactions, if you give it to someone as a loan, there is an opportunity cost. You forego your consumption when you give it to someone as a loan. So for that matter, that person who's borrowing money should pay a compensation, should pay a rent. So the rent of money is the interest rate. So we will be discussing interest rates in a detailed manner in a later session. But here I'm just telling you, we have to know that money has a cost, opportunity cost. Okay. Then money printing. So this is a very famous word, money printing. In single newspapers, you see the term Salyachugahan. So in this picture, you will see you print money in a machine, simply money printing, right? But money printing is not the word that we use in economics in a simple manner. It has a broader meaning. Money printing does not mean that you are, taking materials, paper, pulp, ink, and security features, and you simply put that into a machine and you take coins or notes out. It's not the case. So that is also printing or minting the coins, but it is not meant by money printing here. So idea of money printing in economics we use for introducing new money to the economy. So this term is really important. A central bank introduces new money into the economy. You call it money printing. Central bank can print, let's say, 100,000 notes, and they can keep that money in their vaults or in their storage. So even though they print 100,000 notes and keep in their vaults, it does not call money printing. If the central bank issues that money to the economy, then you call it money printing, right? So releasing money from the central bank vaults to the economy through the banking system, you call it money printing. So this term is really important and very important, the idea in terms of the central bank action, right? So how does the central bank print money? What is the process they follow? They follow the process called purchasing of assets, right? Central bank introduces new money to the economy through purchasing assets or by way of creating money. So central bank creates money. Money printing means it creates money. How it creates money? Basically through buying assets and giving loans. Okay. Why I am very simply telling these things, in the next session we will be dealing on this thing in a detailed manner. What do you mean by central bank asset purchases and lending, and how it creates money? Okay, that is also very important. Third point, the money printing by the central bank through asset purchases or lending does not happen as the central bank wants, which means සිංහලෙන් කියනවා නම් නිස්කාරණය ඕන විදිහට මහා බැංකුවට මුදල් නිකුත් කරන්න බෑ. Central bank cannot print money as it wants, as they think. They do it based on some principle. What is this principle? Macroeconomic fundamentals. What do you mean by macro fundamentals? The central bank should think about the requirement of money in the economy. How much money is needed? What is the economy's growth rate? What is the economy's need for transactions? What is the price levels of the economy? How the other variables behave in the economy? They have to think about all these factors when they print money. So it's a very scientific process, I must say. It's not a simple process. It's a scientific process that the central bank is following. So we will discuss this money creation in detail in the next session. Okay? And also I would say, like any other good, the money is also having a demand and supply. So demand for money, it's a kind of a theoretical subject, right? So the demand for money does not come as a demand for a good. So the demand for a good is a real demand, right? But demand for money, simply, it's not the demand for money. It's the willingness of the people to hold money. So you have to keep that in mind. People, they are having some desire, they are having some expectation to keep money with them. So people hold money or keep money for different various purposes. So these purposes are depending on their income, interest, and their needs, right? So these different purposes are discussed by these, economists, Irving Fisher and Maynard Keynes. Irving Fisher is an American economist. John Maynard Keynes is a British economist. Both these economists have cited some of the reasons to keep money by the people. So let's look at these two theories in a very simple manner. So Irving Fisher, he presented this classical quantity theory of money. Classical quantity theory of money. He presented that in an equation. So this equation, you call it the quantity equation or equation of exchange. We will be discussing this exchange equation in a detailed manner in a separate session. But here, briefly, get some idea very briefly. What does that equation say? So here in this equation, we have few variables. What are these variables? We have M, that is money. We have V, that is velocity. We have P, that is prices. We have Y, that is income. Okay, M equals money, V velocity, P prices, Y means income. So in economics, we assume this V is basically constant, right? V is basically constant. So you can simply forget about V. So when you forget about V, the idea is PY means simply in the economy, that's the nominal economic growth, right? PY means nominal economic growth. So based on this equation, the nominal economic growth is simply driving the money supply in the economy, right? So as a result, Irving Fisher says the income increases. When income increases, the demand for money would increase. So when income increases, demand for money increases. That is the message of this slide. So we can go further. We will do that later. What we will do later, we will keep this Y also constant. So when you keep Y also constant, which means you can forget about Y as well as V, then what does that say? M equals P. M equals P. What does that mean? In the economy, prices are driven by money. Prices are driven by money. So that's why we need to keep M controlled. M has to be managed to control P. So P is driven by M. That is an additional thing that we are going to discuss later. So here, based on this classical quantity theory of demand for money, our message is when income increases, people's demand for money will increase, right? Next theory, liquidity preference theory by the Keynes. Keynes, this person, this economist, British economist, he presented a theory called liquidity preference. What he said was, people prefer to have liquidity for various purposes. He stated this as demand for real money balances. Real money balances means you have to have the same amount of money when the prices increases, because otherwise you will lose your purchasing power. So his argument is on the real money balances. You have to have a real money balance. You call it liquidity preference. Why people demand liquidity, money? According to Keynes, there are three main reasons. Why? Transaction motive, precautionary motive, speculative motive. So in Sinhala we call it මිනිස්සු මුදල් ළඟ තබා ගන්න ප්‍රධාන චේතනා තුනක් බලපාන. ගනුදෙනු චේතනාව, transaction motive, precautionary motive means පූර්වෝපාය චේතනාව, speculative motive means samapekshana chetana. What do you mean by these three? Transaction motive means people demand money for transactions. To day-to-day purchases, buy a good or service, you need money. Precautionary motive means you need some money for unforeseen events. Probably in your house, you may have hidden some money for some unforeseen situation. Maybe under your pillow you have put some money, under your books you have put some money for your unforeseen events. Let's say you are sick, you need some additional money, you keep money. Third reason, you keep money to make profits. Why? In the financial market, financial prices are going up and down. Stock prices go up, bond prices go up, they are going down. Likewise, there are variations in the prices in the financial system. So to gain out of those price changes, you will keep some money, right? So from these two theories, we can identify some key points. What are these key points? When you have income, you demand money. First thing. When you have different purposes, you demand money. For transactions, precautions, speculation, you keep money. And these are dependent on some important factors. What are these factors? As we have already seen, income, interest rate is also a factor, inflation is also a factor. So when you have more income, you demand more money, isn't it? When you have more money, let's say your salary goes up, you keep more money with you for your transactions. You keep more money with you as a safety. But let's say your interest rate goes up. What will happen? You don't keep more money with you. Why? When you have high interest, you can earn out of interest. So you don't need to keep more money with you. So when you have more high interest rate, you keep less amount of money. Similarly, when you have high inflation, you have a negative demand for money, which means no point of keeping money because inflation will erodes the value of money. So out of these three factors, I would say at least keep two in mind: income, interest. With the income, you have a positive demand for money. With interest, you have a negative demand for money. So that is important. Now this part, basically demand for money, is bit theoretical discussion. Starting from this point, what is demand for money? Why do you keep money? Based on these two theories, classical theory and the liquidity theory, and the factors behind. it's bit theoretical. There are very hardly you have seen questions on this theoretical aspect of the money demand, but the implications, the message of this discussion is in your exam questions, right? Time to time. So keep that in mind. With that, I think we can conclude today's session. But if you look at the rest of these slides, you will see a lot of questions related to the discussion we had today. So I really recommend you go through these questions since you have the slides and since you have followed my discussion, and also since I have recommended you some readings, a book and a report, the central bank report, for most of these questions you can answer, right? So I really recommend you to go through these questions on your own, and later on we will find some time to discuss uh, these questions in a workshop setting, but not very soon. First you have to work on your own, you have to put some effort, and you try to answer these questions. Later on in a workshop we will try to find out answers. So this is the question I mentioned to you, the latest two papers. If you look at this question and this question, both are related to the recent and latest developments in money. Okay, and I really recommend you. Now the central bank annual report has been released, the latest report 2019. Please go through chapter 7, that is really important. And also there's an additional reading, CBSL price stability pamphlet, that is also helpful for you to get some understanding on the discussions that we had today and also in the next week. So next week we are moving to this discussion on money 2. There we will do some uh, calculations also, right? In your paper, don't forget, you have some calculations related to money. So there we will do some calculations. So don't miss the class. I know you can, later on go through the, the video, but I really recommend you uh, uh, join lively so we can have a very interactive session. And I really encourage you to bring some questions also. If you have any questions, please put them forward. I'm really happy to answer those questions as well. Okay. So let's stop here. I'll see you next week at the same time on Google Classroom. Have a good weekend and stay safe. Thank you.